One of the big differences in the rear between the facelift and the pre-facelift, obviously on the pre-facelift you have an oval exhaust tip on a V10 car. The V8 car also has an oval tip, but there's no finisher. These cars on the standard trim levels had the chrome oval tip. You could get a black optics package. It's very uncommon. I don't see many of those cars, but it would be black. It's a black chrome finish like this one has, but it's just oval. And the V8 cars would have just an oval opening with just the two round actual exhaust tips coming out of it. Now, another thing that this was actually better on the pre-facelift cars. On the factory black, piano black diffusers, just the black plastic diffusers that came on these cars, it sticks out about an inch from the bumper. So it looks like a nice diffuser. It's very separate from the bumper. On the facelift cars, strangely, they decided to basically push that in so it's flush, so it doesn't have a distinguishable difference between the bumper and the diffuser section, which kind of stinks. The slats on the grills for the rear bumper, you get 2 on the pre-facelift versus the 3 on the facelift. Those are some of the obvious differences. And then of course the round exhaust tips on the facelift cars, which are similar to, but not quite identical to, what would have come on the GT bumper, which was the first time they introduced the round exhaust tips on a bumper. This is my original bumper support, bumper frame, and this is from a facelift car. Now, just looking at them at face value, the easiest way to tell the difference just right off the bat is the frame of an S-tronic equipped facelift car is going to have just this weird little half moon shape cut out right here, because the frame that it mounts to is different in the back. The frame itself in the car, the chassis frame, is different for the S-tronic cars. The manual facelift cars are going to be the same as all the pre-facelift cars. That's just looking at it at face value. So what we're going to do is, where the bumper on the facelift slides onto the car is a little bit different. You'll notice that this kind of comes out here and goes in, but this one has a little bit different shape. The bumper is going to hit that if we don't cut part of this. Yeah, see how this comes up right here? It's a much bigger hole, and this right here, it sticks out right here. I think this is what has to be trimmed right here. So we're just going to basically just trim from here around. If we get it installed on the car and we're off a little bit, then we can always trim some more. And it just has to do with the grill inside the bumper. When you go to slide it on, the grill like slides tight against these, and if you don't have this trimmed, it won't fit on there right. There's some other differences, like right here, it's a little bit different, but those don't impact how the bumper installs at all. Obviously there's a lot more work involved with taking a bumper off in general, but preemptively removed this to do the exhaust install. Facelift and pre-facelift exhausts are different. The exhaust system for the GT and all the facelift cars have a different bumper position. The exhaust tip in the bumper is in a different position. So the early V8 cars had a different exhaust that fit in their bumpers. All of the pre-facelift V10 cars had their own exhaust systems that fit in the oval system, and it's actually the height and the spacing that's different. You can technically modify, in fact I think some of the brands like Rev 9, they actually have an interchangeable version where you can adjust the length and the position of the tip, and those allow them to be interchangeable, so they can sell the same system for a pre or post facelift car. Yeah, it's perfect. I'll always have one this height, pretty much. Okay, so we need to. These little gaps right here are kind of visible, and these little sides are kind of visible. So you want to try to get them like lined up right with the bumper so you're not smashing them. That's like the one thing when you're putting the bumper frame on here, it tries to smash these things up. So you really want to try to make it, yeah, just this right here and this right here. Like, see how that's like bent down and this is bent right here. When this is on the car, you'll be able to see those through the grill on the bumper. And so before you, like, you want to, first of all, try to avoid like mauling them. Putting this on is going to require a little bit of, right there's where we want it, a little bit of bending, but before you put everything on, you want to try to straighten all that up. So these are the bolts that go through it. It is I think it's a 10 mil triple square and a 13 millimeter. And I put them in backwards from how the factory puts them in. The factory puts the triple square on top, which most of the time your triple square socket, which is this guy, most of your time your triple square socket is at least this tall, and you're right behind this part. And to have like a tool sitting on there that also has to be moving is kind of tough. So actually it's easier to take a 13 mil wrench and you can just get your bolt started through. Just put the bolt through the bottom. It's also easier to have the clearance through the bottom for the bolt, because when you go to take it out, it just drops straight down. You got all the clearance in the world under here. All right, so now all I have to do is just put my wrench on that 13 mil, hit my triple square. There's 2 bolts on each side, so, and just cinch it up. You don't have to go super tight. If I go put another wrench on this and try and tighten it any more than that, it's gonna start squeezing that frame because it's just aluminum, it's real soft metal. So that's pretty much all you have to have, is just a couple of short ooga doogas. But you can actually start to see it compressing when you do it, and you don't want it to compress, so you can definitely over tighten these easily. Baby impact, because it doesn't really overpower too much. I love my Milwaukee stuff. Yeah, I already own it all though. Send me batteries. Milwaukee, the best ever. You know, you see a lot of people like doing the argument about like what's better, Milwaukee versus DeWalt or whatever, Ryobi or whatever. I hate the fact that I'm like the stereotypical Milwaukee camp. But dude, I had the DeWalt. I have a whole kit of DeWalt tools back there. And when I switched to Milwaukee, I was like, I might never own another brand of tools ever. And you have all these people that are like, oh, DeWalt's the best. They make the best pack outs and this and that. And I'm like, I don't, you know, it just hasn't been my experience. So this takes the little silver screws. Now definitely don't over torque these, because there's no rivet nut for this. This is going into the threaded aluminum, so just don't go ripping down on it. It doesn't take that much. Just get it to where it's tight and it'll be fine. That's good. Worst case, we did overdo it, you could get rid of that, but shouldn't have to. All right. Little spider. I love that spider. All right, we'll let him live. But these are a very coarse thread nut that spins on a coarse thread shaft that's welded to the frame. Like at least half the time these cars that come in here, one or both of these little threaded shafts are snapped off because people over tighten them, or they can be really tight to take off. So I try not to overdo it. It's not a critical part because once the bumper goes on, there's nowhere that this shield can go. Obviously, we like to try to keep things original as much as possible. All right, so that's tight now. Whatever. All right, so the best place to grab the bumper is these 2 little love handles right here. That's going to give you full structural control. And then you're going to eyeball underneath your taillights to slide this into position. And then you can slip up. Once you get it kind of in place, you can slip it up. Yeah, this is what I was talking about. I don't think I trimmed enough off of that. Yeah, it's still hitting that spot. I gotta take more material off of it. This is the area that's, y'all watch your ears.
You almost had a bed.
I could fit a playing card between the gap that I have, but I would call that fitting. It's pretty perfect, man. I'm not gonna lie. That's as perfect as I've ever gotten one, I would say. Look at that exhaust tip fitting it. It's so good. Unfortunately, the tag frame bolts go through this, so a lot of times I'll just stick the bolts in it to start it. This just holds it in position. All right, so now we gotta make sure that we pull all the connectors through. So on the left side, we just have to pull the tag light connector. On the right side, we also pull the tag light connector, which is the same type of connector, through that same hole. All right, so this is just a connector holder and stuff. It's a little connector station for the backup camera. So we're gonna just take this off real quick. Okay, now this goes on the back side like this. Just like this. Goes like that. Hopefully it's not too thick for these rivets. Of course, okay. Yeah. For the original wing connector, you can just kind of leave it where the other one would be. It's just going to kind of hang there. This one is just going to pull up through the middle. I'll show you what that connects to in a second. And then these two are going to fit in here like this. You want to try to make sure that the bumper is like sitting up where you want it. And then we talked about these screws that sit here. They should be perfectly lined up with the clips that you made sure were there before you put the bumper on. And then you'll feel it tighten up as you get close. Make sure that we're mostly lined up here. And this one, you can actually see on the inside if you have everything still taken apart. You can see it on the inside if you have a flashlight, which I don't, to make sure that it's going into the rivet, the clip nut, not clip, whatever you want to call it. All right, so now once I get them tight, I'm gonna back off a few turns and loosen them up to make sure that we can pull this tighter as needed. And now I'm gonna move over to the other side and I'm gonna do the same exact thing over here. There we go. So now we got the head of this thing, which is kind of, if you can get the head on the magnet, then you can make sure that you can manipulate it to line it up. So now our bolt's back in position. All right, same thing with this. Just kind of put some upward pressure from the bottom. Truly, until you have done this 150 times, you will never have it go this smoothly. This is just, first of all, it's playing nice, and secondly, I've done this 100 times, 150. This is 151. So I loosened these back up again. They are still in the nut inserts, but I loosened them up. We're gonna check our body pan. I'm gonna pull this out just a hair, but I'm gonna go ahead and put my bolts in from the inside. Those bolts are a shoulder bolt, which look like this. See how it has the extra little shoulder right there? We use these on the inside of the bumper to fender attachment. So there's two on each side. So we'll go ahead and put this one in. Again, it's real easy just to use like a screwdriver style. Now you'll notice while I'm doing this that usually there is a side marker right here. That is actually what makes this a European bumper, which is pretty hard to get a hold of. You can buy them brand new still, but they still have to come from Europe because they don't stock that kind of stuff over here. Tight fitment. I'm keeping my thumb on this gap right here to make sure that these body panels line up perfectly. And then once I get that one in, I can pull the front one to where I want it. And by the time I'm done, they both should be pretty much exactly where you want them. How's that look? Pretty good. Always make sure not to put too much pressure on the body panel, because even with this, these are aluminum, they're pretty stiff, but you can still dent it. There you go. That's perfect right there. So I'm gonna do that. I'm just gonna take off the splash shield because the bumper is so stiff on here, I can't push it out. So it's a lot easier for me to just take off these bolts. Let's get back in. Go back. All right, so now we're out. This splash shield should go under the diffuser so that the air can't catch the diffuser. It wouldn't because it's bolted down, but that's just how this thing is made. And then those shoulder bolts I pulled out go in these back 4 holes. And the shoulder is to the gap around this splash shield and the diffuser, regardless of whether your diffuser is a carbon fiber or plastic. It'll tighten against the metal and it'll just slightly start to compress the plastic or whatever diffuser and splash shield. So while I'm under here, I'm gonna go ahead and install my air guides, which are 6 bolts that go on the air guides are supposed to be the fathead style. All right, so shoulder bolt. When I say shoulder bolt, that's a shoulder bolt. We looked at that already. It's got the shoulder on it, okay? Shoulder bolt, that's 1 bolt. All right, the most common bolt you're gonna see in here is gonna look like this. It's gonna have the extra tapered tip to help guide it into whatever you're starting the thread on. It's gonna have a head on it that's about the average size of most of these. It's gonna have nothing else that particularly noticeable about it. A fathead style is this style. It's gonna have, the tip of it is gonna be pointed instead of having that extra little tapered part. And the head is gonna have an extra little ring around the head, okay? So that is what's going to go on these. And that's one of the only places on this car that these are utilized, is this right here. Also on the center panel that goes where the drive shaft goes, that's the other place. That's the most common for this place, this bolt to be. That's where these go. It's either gonna be in that middle or on these almost exclusively. Not necessarily, but almost exclusively. The center strap had a bolt that has a washer on it. It's literally the same exact bolt as the second one I showed you, except it has a washer on it. Don't ask me why, I don't know. And then there is one other style that is a similar head to the other one. The first one, the heads look similar. There's actually different markings on them, so you can tell when they're on the car which one's which. This has no markings on it at all. This one has markings on, stampings on the top and bottom, but it is a shorter bolt. So you can kind of see it's just a little bit shorter in terms of the usable threads that are on it, just a little bit shorter. It has a very few random places throughout the car. I think there's 2 on the splash shields inside here on the rear. I think there's 2 on the front splash shields, a few other random places on the car, but I do get annoyed when I see these fathead ones in the wrong place, and I get especially annoyed when I see the shoulder bolts not in the right place, because these have more of a function than any of the other bolts, a special function than any of the other bolts on the car. So, and these air guides, they're directional. They're how the car extracts heat. So these guides, literally the air goes through these up into these holes and pulls the air out of the rear grille, okay? So all of your heat that's being trapped between the top and the bottom where your transmission and your engine are, all that heat is being pulled out. There's a NACA duct here and here that are doing the same thing. They're pulling air in, but this one is especially helpful to pull the air out from where the exhaust area is, which is directly above this. So these are pretty important, and I've seen quite a few cars come in here that didn't have these at all. If you're missing these, find them and get them. They're not that expensive and they need to be on there. I also see cars that come in and these things are shredded because it's the lowest point underneath here. And people will just drive over something and it'll just like rip these things because it's just rubber. So because they're rubber, when I tighten down this bolt, after I tighten it, I back off because when I'm tightening it, it twists the rubber and it deforms these things. And if you just twist it back to where it's not deformed, then these things will last a lot longer. These things also collect a ton of pebbles off the road. So when you go to take them down and you drop this thing down, it's gonna rain in your mouth. So just be prepared to get stoned. You can get some stones in your mouth. No, too soon, okay. I'm really excited, I just got a rock in my mouth.
Did it taste good?
It's yummy. So shoulder bolts, there's one more pair of shoulder bolts. One goes right here. This is your main side diffuser to the frame of the car. And it actually helps to do these first because a lot of times this diffuser will not be quite where you want it. But you can kind of manipulate it a little bit. So the diffuser that's on the car right now is a factory LMX factory competition coupe. It was optional on any other facelift car. Again, remember, only the facelift diffusers will fit. The factory units are extremely hard to come by. So I also can get these, Osmond sells these. So notice that the fins are a little bit more aggressive. This is more like how the GT fins look. This is a lot more angled. And this one's a lot more of like a vertical angle. And so you can tell a difference when you look at them, but when this is on the car, most people prefer the look of this anyway over an OEM one. So this is the best fitting version. I think the UK maybe that sells these, but it's a really good quality product. You can get this matte or gloss, but the fitment's great. It's not like the Chinese ones. It's not just gonna break apart. It's not gonna separate. Like you can tell when they did the weave, like all these weaves are uniform. You don't see like a bunch of, they didn't like lay the base piece and then add these on as an afterthought. Like everything is very uniform. Finding one of these is a diamond in the rough, and I have like searches all around the world for these. So nana boo boo if I get to it before you. So, but if you can find one, you're doing pretty good.